Okay, I think we will get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a few navigating Zoom pieces before we get started. So before the session starts, you can select the view options on the top of your screen and select the side-by-side mode. And it just helps you with just adjusting the screen to make it a little bit more comfortable if you would like to do that. During the session, we do ask that you keep your microphone muted and your video off until the question and answer period after the presentations from our panelists. If you do have any questions or concerns, you can type your comments or questions into the chat, and we will be checking. I will be moderating chat throughout the call. And lastly, when the session is over, you can leave the session by clicking the leave button. I've hopefully that you've seen enough Zoom calls, you will recognize that leave button as the bright red one on your screen. So I just wanted to say hello, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm from the Office of Residence and Student Life, and I wanted to welcome you formally to the Academic Resources at New College session, which is part of our summer welcome series to help you transition into the university and New College. Today, we are really looking at what academic resources look like here at New College, with several staff, faculty, and student perspectives available to you today. We previously had sessions on transitioning to lectures, student life, and much more, which are recorded and uploaded in case you missed them. Please note that this session is also being recorded as well, so if you need to rewatch the session or need to step out at any time, the recording will be made available to you by the end of today. Secondly, please note that we do have live captions running, so there is the option at the bottom of the screen to click and turn them on if you would like to have them on during the session. And lastly, like I mentioned before, if there's any issues you have, any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to pop them into the chat and I'll be moderating them throughout the call and also sending any questions you have to the panelists. So I would like to formally introduce you to our panelists or your academic resources. I think we can go one by one, starting with the student perspective, just to quickly introduce yourself, your name, and to say hello.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Rudder. I'm currently entering my 4th year at the University of Toronto. I'm studying philosophy and psychology. Those are my majors, and I'm doing a Caribbean studies minor. I'm currently an orientation executive this year for New College, so if you're signed up for orientation, hopefully we can meet each other soon.
Okay, and then can we start with New College faculty, Professor Zhu?
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Zhu. I teach in the human biology program in the teaching stream. I primarily focus on neuroscience, health and disease, and some physiology as well. Looking forward to chatting with everyone.
Thank you so much, Professor. And now our New College Writing Center representative, Liz Newberry.
Hi there. I'm the director of the New College Writing Center, where we have writing specialists there to teach all aspects of writing, academic writing across the discipline. So it's great to be here today and to meet some of you.
Thank you so much, Liz. And now DG Ivy Library, Annetta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annetta Quack, and I'm one of the librarians at the DGIB Library, which is the library at New College. I'm also one of 150 librarians at the General University of Toronto. So there's a lot of librarians available to help you find the resources you need, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you all.
And last but certainly not least, Elizabeth Shaha, our learning strategist.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Shaha. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the New College Learning Strategist. And we have a lot of learning strategists at the university. So I'm a team member from the Academic Success, which is from the Department of Student Life. So we'll talk about some of the resources, workshops, and offerings to help you navigate what learning means at the university.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we're going to dive straight into our panelists, kind of introducing themselves and talking a little bit for about 5 minutes. And towards the end, we're going to have a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, you could start putting them into the chat, but we'll have a dedicated time just for Q&As. So we'll start first with our student perspective. Adam, you are starting us off.
All right, thank you, Alex. So I guess the first point I'll talk about is expectations versus reality. when coming into university. One major point I'd want to bring up is first of all, grades. I think coming into university, I expected my grades to drop based on what I was hearing online from peers, university alumni, etc. And I knew I shouldn't expect to maintain the grades that I had in high school. Now, when I entered university, my grades did drop. However, it is fixable. And I think it's important to note that you shouldn't take your grades as a reflection of you. Look at them with a sense of objectivity and figure out what you need to do to improve. And once you have that desire to improve, getting those grades that you want is very attainable, especially if you make use of your academic supports. Another thing would be class sizes. Coming into university, I expected to have large class sizes, kind of like how they did in the movies with the big lecture halls and whatnot. And I was expecting to have less time spent with my teachers and it'd be more focused on individual work. And when I came to U of T, there were a lot of large class sizes, yes, especially in first year. But a couple of things. Once you start to specialize and enter your programs and whatnot, class sizes do become smaller. So there will be many more close-knit classes offered to you. And the benefit of smaller classes is in the quality of time spent with the professor. Less students, I find, makes for a more engaging experience. And tutorials also will help to provide that classroom environment that you may have been used to in high school and will eventually see again in university. But you'll have the opportunity to break down a lot of the lessons learned in lecture. And if you're not understanding certain concepts, those smaller class sizes can really be helpful. So yeah, I think the next thing I wanted to talk about is homework and readings. In university, I was expecting there to be a lot of homework. I expected the classes and work to be much harder than high school. And though there is an added workload in university, lots of readings or essays if you're maybe in the arts or humanities, and lots of midterms and exams if you're taking any of the sciences. However, it can be managed. The biggest thing to know is that you're responsible for your own learning now once you're in university. And if you're able to manage your studies along with your other priorities, the added workload doesn't have to be such a big burden on you. So yeah, I think management and balance is key when it comes to lessening the workload, or lessening the weight of the workload, I should say. And my last point in terms of expectations versus reality, and it kind of ties in with my last point, but I felt like there might be a lot of work and so much work in studying that I would have no time for a social life, soccer, or any of my other hobbies, spending time with family. And these are things that are very important to me. And I felt like maybe university, just my studies would it forced me to take time away from those things. But that's not true at all, because in reality, the work may be overwhelming at times, but I think your ability to take on such huge workloads at school will be determined in part by your ability to make time for those other important aspects of your life. So for me personally, I found that signing up for soccer teams at New College, visiting or studying with friends every now and then, going to the movies, going out to get something to eat, all these things gave me outlets where I could kind of take a breath away from my studies and refresh. Now, in my transition from high school to university, it was smooth in some aspects and bumpy in others. I would say that essays marked the first major challenge in my transition from high school to university. I am primarily an art student, so I was doing a lot of essays and readings to begin with, but I found that essay structures, topics, and the overall expectations kind of put me through a steep learning curve. In a sense, if you're used to the common essay structures that I know we did in high school, like that hamburger format, you kind of have to learn how to write again when you come to university, develop new writing skills, look for new ways to draft strong arguments, and your research must be deeper. So these are all different things that change when you get to university. Another thing, like I mentioned before, grades were an interesting part of my university transition. I had to learn how to deal with the underwhelming grades. In high school, I guess I kind of felt like I was in competition with everyone else, and that my grades became a source of esteem for me. But when you're in university, you're really not competing with others. You're just competing against yourself. And I think it's important not to let a poor grade become a barrier to your improvement. Focus on the why behind each grade rather than the grade itself. And I think you'll have an easier time delivering on what each class expects from you. And another thing that was important in my transition was sleep and self-care. That changed drastically from high school. In high school, I didn't really care to sleep. I was up all day, never really had the discipline to get my 8 hours in every night. But it's important to sleep well and take care of your physical and mental well-being if you want to achieve your goals in university. Things like exercising, engaging in your favorite hobbies, or even the occasional guilty treat. For me, it's Krispy Kreme donuts. That can go a long way in helping you persevere. Now, second last point, approaching your first paper or exam. So for me, I have a little quick story about my first essay that I wrote. I approached it, I saw the essay topic, thought it would be pretty easy. We had been working on it for a couple of weeks in class, and I kind of approached it how I would approach a high school essay. And I ended up getting a very low grade. I procrastinated on the essay, didn't do it till the night before, or a couple of nights before. And, I was very shocked, but I did want to improve. So I went to the writing center and went to office hours. And what office hours helped me to do was it helped me to understand the concepts and get a sense of what the person marking my paper, whether that be the professor or the tutorial assistant, it gave me a sense of what they expected from me. The writing center, they actually helped to explain some of the prompts in some of my essays. And what's good about the writing center is that when you go there to bring your work, you can go and bring your work at different stages. So for my essay, I brought it in the first stage when I was just brainstorming. They taught me a bunch of different brainstorming techniques, how to read through my research. And later on, when I was able to finish a draft and do some edits, I brought it in another time, and they helped to basically edit my essay. And I saw a major improvement on between my first essay and my second essay. And yeah, again, just making use of your academic supports. It's very important if you do want to improve in those areas. And that brings me to my last point, accessing academic support. Now, as I mentioned before, the writing center and office hours are great sources of support. And I think Liz will speak a bit more about the writing center later. Professor Ju might be able to touch on office hours. But one thing I haven't mentioned are writing and study groups. At New College, we have actually a Caribbean, African, Equity, and Solidarity Studies writing group, and we just go there every week to kind of set out we start the session by setting out our goals of what we want to write about, and everyone in the group is accountable for everyone else, and we just make sure that we all get our work done. And student study groups are the same kind of idea. It's good to have peers around you that are focused on the same kinds of tasks, because it helps to make you more focused yourself. And the last thing I should say is your friends, peers, students like you, they are also another source of academic support. They will also help you to they'll also help to hold you accountable, and they can be a good source for relieving stress. And like I mentioned before, if you need a breather every now and then, students and your peers are a good source to lean on. So yeah, that's it from me for the student perspective, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam, for that. It's really insightful to see what students are going through, what they actually use, and how they felt, especially with that transition from high school to university. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to move us straight along into the faculty perspective. So that is your instructors, and we have Professor Ju with us here today.
Thanks so much. And Adam, that sounds like an amazing growth and a lot of amazing things that you talked about. I really love the fact that you emphasize that balance between your studies as well as your social life, your own self-care. And I think that we really don't emphasize that enough. So thank you for bringing all of those different things up. And as an instructor, one of the things that I'm primarily interested in trying to do with my students is to be as approachable and as available as possible. And different instructors are going to try to do that in different ways. It might be through office hours. It may be providing different types of ways to connect, especially in the online environment. But I think for myself, I want to hear from my own students. So they often suggest having different type of study packages that they're going to be organizing that I'll help to do a little bit of editing on. But I think I really get motivated and I really have my academic supports driven by what the students want to have. And I would have to say that the level of engagement and what students are expecting and what students want to have has really changed. I really welcome that. Not all instructors are going to do that, but that's the type of thing that I'm hoping that you're proactive, like regardless of whether your instructor is going to be able to do everything that you're asking. Just making suggestions would be like really key. Those ideas of study guides, like how to do it every week, like how your groups are doing it, how it's being used in those recognized study groups that Adam talked about, those were all from ideas that students had developed. In terms of like the difference between high school and university level learning, I would say if you're looking at it from first year transitioning from high school to university, a lot of the emphasis on um, the high school experience was really around memorizing things and understanding the basic parts of like biology or like different aspects of your learning. In university, you're going to be asked more frequently and more often to demonstrate that you can apply that basic language or that basic skill. And it's like a language. So high school was a lot like learning the vocabulary, learning the basics, and then university is being able to demonstrate that you can speak that language, that you know how to interpret different things in that language that you might not have learned immediately. And that's sort of a big jump for some students. And that transition is one that I think is the biggest difference, at least from my perspective. It's not about just memorizing things anymore and demonstrating that you can memorize things. It's being able to understand and apply the different things that you have learned. In terms of support, I think the first step, I would try to look at your course syllabus. And to be honest, even learning how to read a course syllabus, interpreting a course syllabus, understanding what your professor wants. And Adam had spoken about this several times in his intro about expectations. That syllabus for each course actually gives you an understanding of what the instructor wants. It gives you a way to understand time management, like how am I going to manage my time over the course of these 12 weeks? And that would be like the very first step. Get that course syllabus. See if you understand it. See where you know you're going to be running into issues with assignments. If you know that you're not particularly great at writing, or you think you might have problems with writing, you might want to start thinking about some of the different supports that Liz Newberry and others offer in the Writing Center. If you know that you have problems navigating the library and you don't know how to write a paper, maybe talk to Aneta. But just seeing that syllabus, that would be the very first step. And then trying to see how you're going to organize your time. And then talking to a learning strategist if your time management or the things that you planned actually starts to not work out the way that you want. And so those would be the steps that I would recommend for a first year student. And about anxiety, I think it's okay to talk about anxiety. I think it's okay to talk about the fact that, there are a lot of unknowns right now. And I think we all expect students to be anxious. Certainly my colleagues, and I just came from a meeting, we know that students are anxious. We know that students are anxious about what the university will look like, especially during a pandemic, about the different transitions, and about the different ways that you're going to be interacting with your peers and as well as with your instructors. I would say that it's perfectly fine to feel that anxiety. But if you feel that it's overwhelming you, talk to a learning strategist, talk to your college registrar. And I would say that even talking to your prof, I do talk to my students who are anxious before tests, assignments. And I think, just reaching out to people. The one thing that I'm going to take away from Adam's talk, so thank you so much for that, is that when I came here and I was a new college student, and when I first started teaching, I had forgotten all of this, is that you go to class, you're expected to do things, but the emphasis is also, as Adam suggested, you're not doing this in isolation. There is a team around you. There's a team at home around you. There's a team of your friends. There's a team here at New College and across the university that's ready to support you. And that goes a long way to kind of relieving that anxiety that you might be facing, because facing something that's unknown together is often a lot better than trying to face it all by yourself. And we're here to support you, and we're here to help you with that anxiety, to take a little bit of that load off of your shoulders.
So I think that we maybe just lost Alex.
Yes, I think we
Okay, so
might
we
have.
lost our moderator. Did you want to say anything more, Bill, or should I just transition to my piece?
You know, it was a hard act to follow Adam. It's going to be an easier act to follow me, so I would just go for it, Liz.
All right. Or Annetta, do you want? Oh, okay, we're back. Okay. So I'm just going to jump in just because Alex, I think, is still managing a few things. I'm Liz. I'm the director of the New College Writing Center, and I feel like we're all going to echo each other in some really wonderful ways. So I think you're getting a picture of New College, of a place where students are cared for, your academics are challenging. We also want you to take time off and do other things, and we're always here to support you. You're probably aware that there's a range of differences between high school and university. A couple of the key differences are ways of thinking about knowledge and the range of choices available to you academically. So at U of T, you'll encounter entirely new fields of study, like sexual diversity studies or urban studies or neuroscience. And even fields that you might be really familiar with, like geography, will offer much more specific courses. Like instead of taking grade 10 geography, you might take a course called, and I looked this up, the Spatial Organization of Economic Activity. So there's a lot of specificity in what you're going to be studying. And each field has its own conventions for conducting research, for analyzing data, for communicating ideas. And also what counts as evidence differs across academic disciplines. So compared to high school, you'll be encountering both an explosion of areas of study and also ways of thinking. And this is why we have some key differences. Next slide. So as students, you won't be memorizing bodies of knowledge, as Bill suggested, so much as learning how to do research and how to talk about ideas in your particular fields of study. So geneticists or film scholars or geographers, for example, would all work with data or evidence differently and would use very different forms of writing. As an undergraduate, you will be learning how to do research, how to assess evidence, and how to contribute to conversations in your field. So the analytic work here is going to be really key. Your papers will be going beyond description, and your analysis and even your thesis, if you have one, will be really grounded in research. And so this is where you really want to make friends with and seek out our librarians to help you research more effectively. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tips here. A key healthy writing and studying habit is to start early and work steadily. So leave time for your ideas to develop as you research. It's hard to write really strong papers the night before when you haven't slept, you haven't let time for your brain to do its work, and you may be too stressed to put in the kind of thought that you want. I would also encourage you to get curious about why the authors you read argue the way that they do. So always ask questions of your texts. When you're note taking, always keep a log of your own ideas. And as Adam suggested, I feel like Adam could have done this whole session. As Adam suggested, avoid writing formulas. So in high school, you may have learned a 5-paragraph essay or hamburger paragraphs. they are unlikely to be helpful for your more complex and varied university papers, in part because of this feature I talked about disciplines being really different. Next slide. The good news is you don't have to know everything about writing right now, right? So I'm just alerting you to a bunch of differences, but there are a lot of academic resources to help with this. So right at New College at the center, we offer individual one-on-one appointments with writing faculty who specialize in teaching academic writing across all disciplines. You can book appointments online and come in, as Adam suggested, at any stage of the writing process. You can join one of our writing groups or writing retreats. And we work with all writers. So whether you feel like you're a beginner or you're already doing really well in your courses, we work with everyone. Our goal is to help all writers become better writers. And I want to suggest here that we all have the capacity to become very good writers. One of the strongest writers I have ever worked with in my, 16 years longer, maybe 16 years at New College, had only been immersed in speaking English for about a year before he came to U of T. So it was a very new language for him. He worked really hard on all of his papers and on his English. And by his fourth year, he was excelling in all of his courses. And he actually published a peer-reviewed article in his field, which is extraordinary. So I do want to leave you with this idea that I know that many of you speak English as a second, third, or even fourth language, but you can be very successful as a student and as a researcher in English. Next slide. And of course we can help with that. So I want to flag the English Language Learning Program, which runs a series of programs designed to help you develop your academic English. It's geared to multilingual students, but it's open to all students. And they run intensive short courses, reading response programs to help you become stronger oral communicators. And you can actually start signing up for these programs in August. So Google ELL at U of T and you can find that program. Writing Plus is a series of about 30 workshops that we offer, covering many aspects of research and writing the process. And I encourage you to attend a few of these in September and October. We also offer them in January, as they offer a really good primer to academic writing, and you'll get a lot of your questions answered. The last thing I want to say is that you may be hesitant about taking courses that have writing assignments. You may feel that, a lot of us, even though accomplished writers, feel like, oh, we're not strong writers. But there are really good reasons to dive into academic writing early in your career, in your academic career. So writing, for one thing, is how we engage in course content, from taking notes to responding to readings to writing essays and papers. It is actually fundamental to how we think and learn, so it will help you. Also, writing is a capacity that you will likely need throughout your life. Communicating well is a key feature in almost every job I can imagine. And finally, at U of T, you are really well supported to take on new writing challenges. So this is the ideal time. So just to close, the Writing Center and other writing programs are really always here to help you through any of these transitions that you'll be facing.
Thank you so much for that, Liz. Okay, I'm going to move on to the library with Aneta.
All right. Hi, everyone, again. So as I mentioned, my name is Aneta, and I'm one of the librarians at DG Ivy Library, which is the New College Library. There's an image of our library on the slide with our mascot, Nyambo, the gnu. And as you can see, the library is known for our space. a lot of students, I guess, pre-pandemic time would use the library as a place to be able to focus and get some work done. And fingers crossed will be open again in September and allow you to have access to that space again. But in addition to being a place where you can get printing for 3 cents and you can like focus on your studying, we also have a team of librarians that are really here to help you with all of your research needs. And I know some of you are like, well, I've got Google, like that's all I need. But when you're doing university level writing, or rather research, you need some more advanced techniques to be able to find the information that you need. If you've done any Google searches, you know, you get thousands and thousands of results, but no one has the time to go through all those results. And librarians can help you really be a bit more strategic with your searching and be able to identify resources and information that's really relevant to the research that you're doing. And there's also the idea of selecting specific types of resources. So Wikipedia is no longer an acceptable source to use when you're getting information from. So, you know, what do you use if not Wikipedia? Well, there's lots of other things that you can use that provide you with easy to read information and that you can access either online or in person. And another thing to highlight is, you know, you'll have to find resources and material that's what we call peer reviewed. So material that's written by scholars in your field and that's not just written by someone on a blog. So how do you identify that information and how do you work through figuring out what's acceptable and what's not acceptable? And that's where a librarian can really help you get to the information you need and make sure that it's information that you're allowed to use in an academic setting. And when you are thinking of meeting up with a librarian, we do encourage you to meet with us early. As Liz mentioned, you know, writing a paper before is not really best practice. Back in my day as a student, I did that and I suffered greatly with like no sleep and my papers were really poorly written and researched because it does take time. The research and writing process is a process in that it needs to develop over time and you might have to revisit your question. The more you read, the more you research, your thoughts may change and you should follow that train and see where it goes. So we really do encourage you to meet with a librarian early or at least, you know, give yourself some time to do the research. It really is a time sensitive process and it might take a bit longer than you would expect. I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, prepare yourself that it's not going to take one day. It might take a week to be able to get all the information you need to be able to complete your assignments. And we have a link on the slide that's to our booking consultations form. So if you do want to get in touch with a librarian, you can book a one-on-one meeting with us and we'll work with you on your specific projects. But we also offer workshops. So there is the Ignite program that's happening at the end of August, beginning of September for first year students, introducing you to the library and various library resources, as well as the Writing Center and the Learning Strategist. But we also do in-class workshops. So some of you might see us in your classrooms, but mostly just come visit us and meet with us one-on-one. I think that's the most effective way to be able to excel in your research process. And I'll finish off on the note that librarians are really here to help you. We are helping people and we love to work with our students and we really look forward to seeing you all.
Thank you so much, Annetta. So now we're going to move on to the final person who is our learning strategist, Elizabeth Shaha, and then we'll move on to the Q&A.
Hi, everyone. So again, my name is Elizabeth, and I am the New College Learning Strategist. So I'm just going to go through some of the points over here as to, you know, what I kind of offer for students, because sometimes it's a little bit interesting, right? You're learning about all of these different resources. So it's really helpful to know who does what. And if you don't know, I can be that person for you to help you navigate that. So usually students connect with the learning strategist for individualized support. So I offer one-on-one appointments. In those one-on-one appointments, I can help really understand or make students understand how to manage their time better, manage their stress. You know, university, you might be taking multiple courses with multiple demands, right? So learning how to manage your time and stress is really helpful, but sometimes it's really hard to do by yourself, right? So I encourage you to book with me if that's something that you're struggling with. You know, I think all of us talked about procrastination. I feel like we've all done it. And sometimes, you know, procrastination might work for some people, but I think as you almost gradually go through the years, you'll notice that there's actually way better strategies for you to apply, right? And procrastination might not be it. So if that's something that you're noticing that you're doing in your first semester, and perhaps in your second term, you're like, maybe this is not the way I want to continue working, you could book with a learning strategist like myself, and I will be able to help you individualize that process. Okay, so in terms of navigating those strategies, we would work together to create something that would work for you, right? So it's very much that I'm walking with you along those experiences, really listening to what you're going through, and then we would co-create something together, like an organizer of some sort, or going through a schedule. And I know you might be saying, I don't really need that right now, but who knows, right? So I welcome you to go through the next few weeks, the next few months, thinking about what's working for you and what's not working for you. And if it's really hard, I'm here to support you. In the appointments, we develop new strategies, which include active studying, reading, note-taking, and exam preparation. So very similar to kind of how a lot of us said, the transition between high school to university is very different. Some of you might even be coming from a gap year, right? So you haven't been learning in this way for a really long time, maybe. So we encourage you to, come chat with me so that we could navigate how to better support your learning and your reading and note-taking and all that stuff. In terms of exam preparation, sometimes I actually end up meeting with students before midterm season or before exam season, actually. So if that's something that you're really looking forward to, you could also very strategically, book with me in that way, just similar to how you would book with the Writing Center, right? You see something is coming up, you want to make sure you schedule something maybe a week or two in advance of that. In terms of improving research, assignment completion, and presentation skills, I think that is really great for you to come to talk to a learning strategist, so I could also help navigate some of the other extra resources that we do have, right? So it might start with a conversation with me, but I might say, hey, you should probably talk to a librarian. They could help you with this, this, and this. Maybe you should book with the Writing Center because they're going to offer these sorts of supports. So essentially, in terms of navigating the university academic systems and services, you might end up coming to me, and we would be really narrowing down on the resource that's best suited for you. And I would make those connections with you, okay? Because again, the university is really big. You're sitting here and you're listening to a lot of great advice. But sometimes, right, it's after when we experience things that we need that support to be activated. In terms of, students who are coming from high school in particular, or even in elementary school, some students actually had individual education plans, which are called IEPs. So if that's something that's familiar to you, if you notice that, hey, I'm a little bit, I need a little bit more individualized support in my learning, I welcome you to come and we will definitely chat further. And also for those students who are just having this abrupt difficulty, if that's what you're going to be experiencing, again, like, you are so well supported, and I'm one of those people, hopefully that could be on your team. I can't remember if Dr. Ju said this or not, but it's kind of like assembling a team, right? So I don't know if you're a Marvels fan or not, but it's kind of like the Avengers. So if you want, we could actually be part of your team, okay? But you're kind of the Nick Fury guy, right? You're the one who's coming in and picking and choosing who's going to be supporting you throughout your journey, because as Adam so beautifully, shared with you the experience, you genuinely grow step by step, year by year, and by the end of your experience at the university, it's a butterfly. It's such a beautiful change. Okay, so 2 ways to connect with me. So you could book an appointment with me by email. So my email is right there, and I'll drop it in the chat. I am launching an MS booking systems with the registrar's office. So that's also another really great resource for all of you. If you are struggling with some of the courses, maybe you don't know what course to take next, the the New College Registrar's Office is a really great resource. So anyway, that booking system will house my services and the academic advisors as well. And lastly, I'm going to be hosting a series of workshops. So whether you're going to be living in residence at New College or whether you're a commuter student, you'll be having access to not only my appointments and workshops, but centrally at U of T, there's this department called Academic Success, and they have a huge list of workshops that they offer. So whether it's, I don't know, you're struggling with note-taking or, time management, they too have a lot of services as well. So I will kind of wrap it up there. Congratulations on coming to U of T. And I think that New College is such a wonderful college. I was not at New College actually in my U of T experience until right now. And I think that you are such, a beautiful addition to our New College family. And we're really happy that you're with us today.
Thank you so much for those lovely words, Elizabeth. So our panelists have gone over several different resources, services, workshops, and ways to connect for the fall semester. So these are great ways to kind of get started and get thinking about your academic journey and your academic year, how to really support yourself and get support where needed. So we are now opening it up to a question and answer time. So if you have a particular question to a specific panelist or just kind of a general one to the entire group, feel free to put them into the chat on Zoom. Or if you would like, you're also welcome to unmute yourself and just talk to us. We don't bite, we're very friendly here at New College. So we welcome you to ask any questions that you have, any burning ones. I know Hanshi already asked a question about any suggestions for international transfer students. Liz did respond that there is the Student Life International Student Orientation. It is referred to as New Journeys. The websites and content will be updated pretty soon. I definitely recommend following the Life at New account. We will be posting as soon as registration and everything else is available to students. So that is definitely one option. And Liz also suggested the Center for International Experience that offers a range of programs and supports for international transfer students as well. Great resources, so definitely recommend checking them out. At Life at New for both Facebook, Instagram, we even have a TikTok, so quite a few social medias out there. I know that the libraries also has Instagram, so I believe it's newcollege.libraries, if I'm remembering it correctly. And then the Writing Center also has Instagram as well. So definitely encourage following the social media accounts to kind of stay up to date on any content, sessions, important updates. It's a really great way to stay connected. Oh, David, okay. So this might be unrelated, but is there a soccer team that students can join? I think I know who can answer this question pretty confidently. Adam, if you would like to.
Yeah, great question, David. So for soccer, so we have intramurals at U of T, and like they're tiered intramurals. So the highest level would be D League, and that's like across the 3 campuses. So Mississauga, St. George, and Scarborough. And basically at the start of the year, they'll post up tryouts and sign up times for that. And yeah, you can join the team that way. But we also have like regular intramurals between the colleges and faculties at the St. George campus. So for me personally, I'm on the New College soccer team. I play with the men's soccer team and also the co-ed soccer team. So if you're if you want to look out for that, I'd say follow the New College Athletics Association, either their Facebook page or Instagram page, and you'll get updates about tryouts for not just soccer, but any other sports team throughout the year. So yeah, look out for that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Adam. I think definitely getting involved, staying active, staying healthy is so important when you consider your curricular activities as well, and having that healthy balance between things.
Sorry, can I just mention one more thing, Alex?
Yeah, of course.
I'm actually on the a New College Athletics Association this year. So if you guys want to reach out to me afterwards, I'll drop my email in the chat. But if you want to reach out to me about that, maybe soccer or anything, we could talk about it more afterwards.
Yeah, and Adam, would you say that New College is the best team? This is Jose's question.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we've made finals pretty consistently over the past few years. So yeah, we're strong. We're strong.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. So we have another question from Anushka. Do we get a specific list of textbooks or books when beginning a new course? Do we want maybe Bill or Netta to maybe answer that regarding books and course materials?
I can jump in really quickly. So in terms of books and textbooks, some professors will give you a list of books that you might need to purchase. The library, once again, still not sure if this is going to be possible this September with the pandemic, but fingers crossed. The library generally does purchase a copy of required texts and put them on short-term loan where students can borrow them for 2 hours at a time. So if you either can't buy a book or don't want to spend all that money on buying a new book, you can always check the library website to see if the library has a copy of those books. That's why the library is here. We kind of collect all these books for a reason. So please feel free to check the library website to see if all those books are available. And then also some instructors work with the library to provide students with access to all of their readings. So if you are, I mean, it depends on which course you're working with, but most New College specific courses, we provide all of the links and scans that you need for your courses. So it really is course specific, but the library generally provides options for students that are free. And I'll let Bill finish it.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Anetta was saying. I think that your professors will provide either through Quercus or through their syllabus a list of the different course readings and or textbooks as are required. I would also, again, really emphasize that working with the library to help navigate some of those resources, because textbooks are not cheap. They're kind of expensive. And yes, you can go to the U of T bookstore and they'll also have a list of all of the different textbooks, but there are other options. And, you know, working with the library often helps to reduce some of those costs of those really expensive textbooks.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I definitely agree. Whenever you have the opportunity, get secondhand loaning from the library. I can't tell you how many textbooks I have sitting in my room collecting dust because I don't need them anymore. So there's definitely options to kind of get cheaper or completely free. And I definitely recommend. And you'll definitely find your specific list somewhere in the course syllabus, which ties into our next question. Where can we find the course syllabus? I think Bill could even take us away with this question too.
Usually sometime in late August, hopefully not by like September, but like in late August, many of your course instructors will activate what is called Quercus, which is sort of that online learning platform, or it's called a learning management system. And on that page, they'll often have the syllabus for you. So usually it's in advance of the course. You can download it. It's a PDF in most cases. Some instructors will just have it as a web page, but that will usually be available to all students registered in the course on the course Quercus website.
Yes, Quercus is going to be a very frequented website as you start university. So definitely recommend bookmarking it now and even logging in now. Most of you should already be invited to the registrars. I believe it's the new student academic hub. Yes, Elizabeth is nodding, so I got it right. And there's also the Life at U Quercus page. So those are great places to kind of get started and exploring how Quercus looks like, how it feels like, feeling those features, kind of getting used to them before you start your classes. I know that we have a few questions about accommodations and residence life. I will suggest going to the residence life session to get those specific questions answered. There are resident staff available who can answer those questions, or you could email new.residents@utoronto.ca, and they're more than happy to answer your questions about accommodations and just the situation with residents. I'm just looking to see if I missed any questions yet. Yeah, so again, with the residence questions, I saw a few of them available. Again, we're having a residence session soon today, so definitely recommend going to that one and you'll get your resident specific questions answered there. But if there is any other questions regarding academics, I know one of the questions we had in our form for registration was, how do you approach professors during office hours? What would be the best strategy there? Because I know some people are pretty intimidated. I knew I was. When I was in undergrad, I saw a professor and I was like, I can't go near you. You are, way above me. I'm too scared to go. So I'm wondering, like, what would be a suggestion on how to approach a professor during an office hour?
Adam, could I ask you, how did you approach your profs?
So yeah, I think for me, like, yeah, I tend to have I like to have my ideas sorted out beforehand. So I think it's key that you actually do the work before you go to approach the professor, like rather than not preparing and then going and expecting the professor to teach everything to you. It's better to do the readings, do the assignments, and then make notes about what you're struggling with, maybe some concepts you're not understanding, and then you'll have something more concrete to bring up in office hours, something more specific that the professor could help you with. So yeah, I believe Liz was mentioning this earlier, when going through your readings and whatnot, taking notes, questioning the author's motives for saying certain things, and all these are things that you can bring up in your office hour session. But that's how I approach office hours, I'd say.
Can I jump in quickly with this? Is 98% of professors love students and talking to students. And we want you to come and see us. And so many professors have office hours, which is time when you're mandated to sit in the office to be available to students, and nobody shows up, and it makes them feel super lonely. Professors are actually generally really friendly people who are interested in you as people and as learners. So I understand the intimidation, because like Alex, I didn't go see my professors very often as an undergrad, and I wish I had, where we actually really want to talk with you.
I'll also mention one other thing. Adam had mentioned that some courses are actually pretty large, and sometimes office hours kind of also look like it's more like a group chat almost, where you might have like other people, especially around midterms. And I often get asked, because I was like very socially awkward when I was an undergrad. I still am socially awkward, but a little bit, different in my social awkwardness. So I think it's perfectly fine to just attend office hours to kind of learn how to ask questions. And if you're wondering, like, how do you learn how to ask questions? Sometimes just showing up, sitting there with a group and kind of hearing their questions, there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage students to kind of show up, and even if they don't have a question in mind, just to kind of get used to showing up to the office and knowing where it is. Like I've had situations where a student asked me, like, right at the end of semester, at the very end, where is your office? And that just makes me feel really sad. And yes, we do get lonely. So show up. It's great to do so.
Yeah, can I actually add something as well? So I feel like, I'm even recalling back when I was in my undergrad, but I feel like generally students think that office hours is a time to like show off to professors all the things you know. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It's really just there for you to communicate with your professors, ask the questions, even if it does sound silly. If you're stuck, that probably is a really good space for you to ask more questions, because these people are the experts in that subject area, right? So you're kind of doing a lot of things. You're communicating with them, you're showing up, you're being very inquisitive about the learning. And yeah, so I think it's always a win-win. So I feel like there's way more things to get out of going to an office hour versus not going. Yeah, so you don't have to be, impressing anyone. Just be yourself.
Sure. And I think to continue on the conversation about office hours, Sam and Belle have asked, how does the COVID situation or the current situation affect office hours, and how do they work at this time?
I just put in a quick note that each professor might do something different. There will probably be a mixture of in-person and online. We recognize that doing things online increases accessibility for people who can't always commute into school and such. So I think there will be office hours. That is a part of every course. How each professor manages it might be a little different. I don't know, Bill, if you have another thought.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be, some of your profs might just continue to have online office hours, and it might just be like individual, or it might be group office hours online, and some will have like those traditional like in-person type of office hours, and it's kind of hard to predict right now what that will actually look like. But as Liz mentioned, we'll have them. We just don't know which form it'll take.
And likely you'll be told about the form on the syllabus or in an announcement. Your profs might even email you directly to kind of let people know what's the situation. As it constantly evolves, they'll probably be updating you as time goes on. So definitely have your emails open, check them constantly. I always recommend that. Go on Quercus regularly, have your notifications turned on so you never miss any communications from your professor or even TAs about all these different things. Yeah, you're welcome. So I have one question from Emily. I've noticed trying to figure out classes I should take, and some of them are in person and others are asynchronous or synchronous. I plan on aiming for in person because I do better in a classroom, but what are those classes like, and are they run through Quercus? Wonder, Adam, if you want to speak about your experience with like classes being in person versus online, and how they were run for some of your classes.
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, I think the question essentially is asking what are classes like that are run through Quercus or run through like online or synchronous versus in person?
Yeah, so I think I mean there are a few differences. I think with online classes there's I guess more flexibility in terms of when you can do your lectures, when you can do your work and so on, especially if you have the asynchronous classes. But I find just in general, like the way teachers have set it up in this past year, it's allowed for a lot more flexibility in an online setting, whereas in person, you have your scheduled office hour times, you have your scheduled class times, scheduled tutorials. But online, there's a lot, you could do more, maybe booking private sessions with professors for office hours, or, watching lectures at the end of the week as opposed to when they're actually uploaded. So that's one major difference there. I think also, like in terms of what kinds of assignments are offered, that differs between in-person and online. Online, I can't give any concrete examples, but I know that there are a lot more maybe open-ended tests and quizzes in an online setting, whereas in person, you have to kind of like tests are closed book. You prepare for your 2-hour time slot, but in online, like I've had a lot of take-home midterms, take-home tests, which are open book, and I can work at those at my own pace. So there are a couple of differences here and there between online and in person, but ultimately you get the same experience, I find, at the end of the course.
Oh, thank you so much, Adam. And I think Hanshi, you asked a question about the stat department. You could also try getting connected to the registrar's office to help you with any situation related to academics, and they could help support you there in case if you need any support and you're not getting any replies from the stat department. And Liz did mention that sometimes people are stepping away. So July, August definitely is a vacation season for many departments. So it might be a bit of a slower response time. Okay.
Can I piggyback off of Adam's response for the synchronous and asynchronous? Sorry. I've noticed a lot of students when they've booked an appointment with me, they are trying to navigate asynchronous versus synchronous. And, I know there's talks about, in-person classes versus online. So if that's something that you're I don't know how to really budget my time for certain things, because, it sounds like you could do it whenever. And yeah, so you can actually book with me, by email. So I'll put my email in there as well in the chat. But you can book with me and we can actually figure out a way to make sure that you are accounting for all of your courses, whether they are synchronous or asynchronous. A lot of international students also, they need to think about how to kind of place those in their time zone. So anyway, if that's something that you're struggling with, feel free to book an appointment with me in the fall, no problem.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And again, reminding everyone to definitely use the resources available. We've discussed quite a few today and quite a few options to reach out and get connected. So definitely encouraging everyone to contact, get ready, start thinking about how you want to, get connected with these resources. And we've familiarized a lot of people. So you are hopefully more familiar with who's available. You now know Elizabeth, Annetta, Liz, Bill, Adam. So there's some, and Annetta too. So there's a lot of familiar faces. Hopefully we demystified a few of the New College supports available. Does New College still offer buffet? I would definitely recommend contacting Residence Life. Currently no, due to the COVID situation, but Residence Life will definitely be the best to answer anything related to the dining hall. And Sam asks, can I take synchronous, asynchronous online classes on campus, example, in the library with internet connection and other venues? So I think Michaela is here from the library, I believe, but in case if she's not, I can definitely say that yes, the library has internet. They have computers that you can access when you log in with your student account. So it has internet connection. The university in general on campus has Wi-Fi for all students. So you're able to log in, get connected on your phone or your devices, and essentially take your classes wherever you're available. So that is definitely an option. If you're on campus, you can try taking classes on campus if it's online too.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. I'm sorry to interrupt. We also do have private study rooms that students can book if they need something a little more quiet, safe for something they need to do more participation in, because the library is more of a quiet space. So we do have the study rooms for smaller group work and individual work.
Sorry, Michaela, your voice was cutting out a bit in the call, but I believe you mentioned the study rooms available for students. So those are definitely spaces that students can book. And again, you could contact your librarian to learn a bit more about them, but study rooms are a great spot as well to kind of get that quiet space to take your classes if you're doing online asynchronous or synchronous courses.
Can I just jump in with a quick comment, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
I know that what I'm going to say is echoing a little bit of what Adam said and what Bill said, but I just think it's so important that we reiterate this. But sometimes, actually, most of the time, the things that you choose to do outside of classes, whether that's a sport, exploring Toronto, making friends, study groups, many of the clubs, there's hundreds of clubs on campus. All of the things that you do for your social and physical and emotional well-being are actually beneficial for your studying. And so sometimes it's actually more efficient in terms of your own learning to take an hour away from your studying and go for a walk than it is to keep on going through the work. And so one of the things that I would encourage you to do in early September is not only plan out your classes and your syllabus and your due dates, but plan in your social and physical well-being activities, because those are the things you're going to remember, and those are the things that are going to sustain you.
Yes, thank you so much for reminding us about that, Liz. Again, that balance between all those different components as you go through your undergrad journey is so important to consider, because it's not just about academics too. You want to enjoy your experience, get to meet new people, start your network, get involved in sports, get involved with mentorships. There's so many different things beyond academics as well to kind of think about and plan for as you start your undergrad journey. So definitely recommend to look at all those different options and availabilities that are there for you. I do recognize that we are 7 past the hour. I did leave the new.studentlife@utoronto.ca email in the chat, so you are more than welcome to send us messages there, and I'll send it to the respective panelists. If you have any follow-up questions, if suddenly you remembered, oh wait, I forgot to ask this question, definitely send that to new.studentlife, and I'll make sure to connect you to the appropriate person or respond to the question there. I would like to thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you are super excited to get started for your fall semester. I believe it's 6 weeks from now, which is, wow, time is flying. The summer feels too short sometimes, but definitely enjoy it. There's a lot to look forward to in the upcoming weeks. We have orientation, your first classes to get started. Maybe we're going to be on campus, and we'll hopefully see you all soon. There's a way to get connected to the great resources we highlighted today from our lovely panelists. And I would like to especially thank our amazing and wonderful panelists today for taking the time and energy to come and make this connection with you all, and are super excited to get to, I hope you are all super excited to get to know the people who care about your personal success at U of T. Again, don't forget to stay connected. We highlighted so many different social media pieces, the Life at New, the Writing Center, the New College Libraries accounts. So there's many ways to kind of stay in touch and stay up to date. And we definitely recommend you follow us if you are able to, or stay connected through email or Quercus. And we again, thank you so much for joining us today on this lovely Tuesday. I hope it is warm and lovely where you are right now. We hope you had a great time. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to connect with us at any time. We are always here for you. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you again to our panelists.
Bye, everyone. Have a great semester.